Chloe walked into my 25th birthday party 40 minutes late, carrying a small velvet box in her hand, and every loud person in my backyard suddenly became background noise. My sister stopped laughing near the grill. My friend Nate lowered his paper plate. Even my mother, who could talk through a fire alarm, went quiet. Chloe looked straight at me. "Tell me you still have yours," she said. I was sitting on the back step with a half-eaten burger I had no interest in. I set the plate down, reached into the inside pocket of my jacket, and took out my own box. Her mouth parted, just slightly. Nate muttered, "Well, that just got aggressively interesting." I stood. "You're late, I know. You always make an entrance. You always pretend you hate it. Today I actually considered it." She stepped closer, holding that box like it weighed more than it did. "Open yours. Right here? Unless you want to ask the lawn chairs for privacy." A few people laughed, but nobody moved. Chloe and I had known each other since we were young enough to make promises without understanding bills, distance, parents' pride, or timing. We had made one ridiculous promise one summer afternoon behind my father's garage. If we were both single at 25, we would marry each other. We bought cheap rings from a corner store with money we were supposed to spend on snacks, hid them, and never spoke of it in public again. Except we had both kept them. I opened my box. The old silver ring sat inside, scratched and slightly bent. Chloe opened hers. Same cheap shine, same stupid promise, same 15 years of pretending it had been a joke. My mother whispered, "Oh, Mark." Chloe held out her hand, palm up. "So?" I looked at her. "You're asking in front of 50 people. No, I'm reminding you in front of 50 people. That's worse. Only if you were planning to run. I don't run, no. You stand there and make that face like a responsible man at a tax office." Nate raised his cup. "He does have the posture for it." I ignored him. "Chloe, this is not a game." Her voice softened. I know, there it was, the problem. She did know. Chloe had never treated words like decorations. She was ambitious, stubborn, and allergic to pity. She could handle a room full of executives, a flat tire on a rainy highway, and me when I was being too quiet for my own good. But in that moment, with her parents not yet knowing what she had done, with my family watching, with our old promise sitting between us, she looked nervous. Not playful, not dramatic. Nervous. I took her ring from the box. "You understand what happens after this," I told her. She nodded. "Yes. Your parents will have opinions. They were born with opinions. They'll aim most of them at me. Probably. And you still want me to put this on your finger?" Chloe lifted her hand higher. "I didn't keep it for 15 years because I enjoy storage." I smiled despite myself. Fair. When I slid that cheap ring onto her finger, the backyard erupted. My sister covered her mouth. My mother started crying. Nate yelled, "That's a binding lawn ceremony. I saw witnesses." Chloe laughed, but her eyes stayed on mine. Then she took my ring and put it on my finger. For one clean second, it felt simple. If I had known how fast that moment would turn into a test, I might have held her hand longer before the world shoved its way in. After the party thinned out, Chloe and I ended up in my kitchen with 2 untouched slices of birthday cake between us. The house was finally quiet. Outside, my father and Nate were folding chairs. Inside, Chloe leaned against the counter, staring at my ring like it had just started speaking. "So," I said, "are we engaged, insane, or both?" She picked up a plastic fork. "Both sounds efficient. Good." "I like efficiency. You look too calm." "I'm not calm. You look like you're about to compare insurance plans. That is my panic face." She laughed, then stopped too quickly. I noticed. "What?" My mother called 6 times. "Already?" I texted her a picture. I stared at her. "You texted your mother a picture of the ring before telling her what happened?" I included a heart. "Chloe." "What? That's not communication. That's a grenade with punctuation." She put the fork down. "I didn't want to hide it." "I respect that." She replied, "Call me now." Then, "Chloe, this is not funny. Then your father is leaving the restaurant." "Your father was at a restaurant?" "With my mother and her friend Denise." "Oh, good. Public pressure and appetizers." "Mark, I'm processing." Her phone buzzed again on the counter. She didn't pick it up. I folded my arms. "Take it. I don't want them in here. They're already in here. Your phone is basically breathing." She looked at the screen. "It's my dad. Put it on speaker." Her eyes snapped to mine. "No, then I'll step out." "No, Chloe, we don't start this by hiding behind missed calls." She studied me for a moment. "That was always our language." She pushed. I held. I pushed. She checked if I was serious. Most people thought loyalty meant saying yes. I had learned loyalty meant telling the truth before resentment had a chance to decorate itself. She answered and put it on speaker. Chloe. Her father's voice was tight. Tell me this is some kind of birthday joke. It isn't. Where are you? With Mark. I know that. Where? At his house. Stay there, we're coming. I leaned closer to the phone. Good evening, Mr. Bennett. A pause. Mark. Sounds like you've had a long dinner. This is family business. It became my business when my name got attached to it. Chloe gave me a warning look. I gave her one back that said I was not starting under the table. Her father exhaled hard. We're not doing this over the phone. Fine, I replied. But we're also not doing it with people storming into my house angry. Come tomorrow at noon. We'll talk like adults. Another pause, longer this time. Chloe whispered Mark. I didn't move. Her father said, you don't get to set the terms. At my house I do. Her mother's voice cut in from the background. Is he serious? Yes, Chloe said, louder now. He is. That answer changed something in the room, not everything. But enough. Her father came back. Noon. The call ended. Chloe stared at the phone. I opened the refrigerator, took out 2 bottles of water, and handed her one. You just told my father not to come here, she said. I told him when to come here. That distinction matters to you? It should matter to you. She looked down at the ring. I don't want a war. Neither do I. You sounded ready for one. I'm ready for boundaries. People confuse the two when they're used to walking in without knocking. She took the water and looked away. They're scared. I know. They think I'll throw away my career, my grad program, everything. Are you planning to? No. Then say that tomorrow. She looked back at me. And what will you say? The truth. Which part? The part where I love you and I'm not interested in owning your future. The word love landed between us and stayed there. Chloe's voice dropped. You've never said that. No. Why? Because you were building a life and I didn't want my feelings standing in the doorway like a salesman. She stepped closer. That was your plan? Wait until 25 and hope? I had backup plans. Like what? Dying quietly of emotional discipline. She rolled her eyes, but her mouth curved. That's not a plan. It was cost-effective. Her hand brushed mine on the counter. Neither of us moved away. I loved you too, she said. I watched her face to make sure she wasn't being kind. Chloe could be generous, but she was not careless. Past tense? Since forever, she answered. Present tense, annoyingly persistent tense. I let out a slow breath. That would have been useful information around, say, age 21. You were dating that woman who made spreadsheets for hiking trips. 2 months. You looked happy. I looked hydrated. She carried 4 water bottles. Chloe laughed, then touched my ring with her thumb. I was scared too. Of me, of us, of ruining the one relationship I never had to perform in. I understood that, maybe too well. I leaned back against the counter, leaving a small space between us because the space mattered now. Then we don't rush the parts that need time. We just got engaged in your backyard. Yes, bold start, sensible follow-up. She smiled. You're ridiculous. I'm stable. Ridiculous is just the premium package. She moved into me then, not dramatically, not like a scene from a movie. She placed her forehead against my shoulder and stayed there. I put one hand on her back. That was all. But it changed the temperature of my life. The next morning, I cleared my kitchen table like I was preparing for a meeting instead of a confrontation. Coffee, water, notepad, 4 chairs. My father saw the setup and frowned. You expecting negotiations? He asked. I'm expecting emotions dressed as facts. He nodded. Then use coasters. People respect a table more when it looks intentional. My father, Frank, was a retired electrician with the personality of a level, straight, useful, and not interested in drama unless it affected wiring. My mother, Diane, had already offered to make 3 casseroles and accidentally stay for support. I told her no. She stood near the sink, offended. I gave birth to you. And I appreciate the early investment. Don't get sarcastic with me when you're about to discuss marriage with people who think you stole their daughter. I didn't steal anyone. I know that. Then trust me to say it. She softened. I do. I just don't want you hurt. Too late for prevention. We're in management now. At noon exactly, Chloe arrived with her parents. Her mother, Melissa Bennett, stepped in first, polished and controlled, the kind of woman who smiled like she was approving or rejecting a proposal. Her father, Grant, followed with his jaw set. Chloe came in last, wearing jeans and a calm face I knew cost her effort. My mother had agreed not to stay, but she had left cookies on the counter. Subtle as a marching band. Melissa noticed them. How sweet. I pulled out chairs. Coffee? Grant didn't sit. I'd prefer an explanation. Coffee first, I said. Explanations go better when nobody's standing like they're waiting to object. Chloe pressed her lips together. Not a smile, not exactly. Grant sat. Melissa sat. Chloe sat beside me, not across from me. I noticed. So did her parents. Grant pointed at her hand. Take that ring off while we talk. No, Chloe replied. Her mother's eyes widened. Chloe. No, she repeated firmer. I'll talk. I'll listen. I'm not taking it off to make you comfortable. I didn't rescue her. I didn't add anything. That was her line to hold. Grant turned to me. How long have you been planning this? 15 years badly. One day publicly. This is not funny. It wasn't meant to be. You expect us to believe two adults randomly pulled out rings at a birthday party. No, I expect you to believe we kept a promise. Melissa leaned forward. A promise made when you had no understanding of life. True, I said. That's why we're not getting married this afternoon. Chloe looked at me quickly. Grant caught it. So there is no plan. There is a plan, I answered. It starts with everyone taking a breath and stops before anyone tells Chloe what she is allowed to want. Melissa's face tightened. We are her parents, and I'm not disputing the title. You don't know what she has sacrificed. I know more than you think. You know she has interviews lined up in Chicago? Yes. You know she may be accepted into a program that will demand everything from her? Yes. You know marriage can limit a woman's options. So can parents who panic and call it protection. The room went still. Chloe whispered, Mark. I looked at Melissa. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. But I'm also not going to sit here and let fear make me the villain because I kept a ring. Grant tapped the table once. What do you want from her? Chloe answered before I could. He wants me to choose for myself. Her father turned. Do you hear yourself? You got swept up in a party. I was swept up in nothing. You're emotional. I'm always emotional. I just usually schedule it around your comfort. That one hit. Grant sat back. Melissa blinked. I kept my face neutral, but inside I wanted to applaud. Chloe continued. I kept that ring in 3 apartments, through college, through every job application, through every date I ended early, because the man across from me wasn't Mark. I didn't tell you because I knew you'd turn it into a committee decision. Her mother's voice softened. We only want you safe. I know. Then why does this feel like you're leaving us? Chloe looked down at her hands. Because you taught me love means approval. Nobody spoke for a moment. Grant rubbed his forehead. This is moving too fast. I agree, I said. Chloe turned to me again. I faced her, not her parents. I meant what I said last night. We slow down the practical parts. No wedding date today. No shared accounts. No moving in because people got excited under string lights. We date openly. We make decisions with clear heads. Melissa seemed almost relieved. That's reasonable. But, I added, nobody bans us from seeing each other. The relief vanished. Grant said, we can ask our daughter to take space. You can ask, I replied. She can answer. Chloe sat straighter. I'm not taking space from him. Chloe, Melissa said. I'll spend tonight at my apartment. I'll call you tomorrow. I'll go to my interviews. I'll keep my schedule. But I'm not going to punish Mark to prove I'm still your daughter. Grant pushed back his chair. You don't understand the pressure you're inviting. I stood too. Not fast, not aggressive. Just enough to end the meeting before it turned into a loop. I think we've covered today, I said. Melissa stood slowly. That's it? For today, yes. Grant looked offended. You're dismissing us? No. I'm ending a conversation that has stopped producing respect. Chloe's eyes moved to mine. There was fear there, but also something steadier. At the door, Melissa touched Chloe's arm. Come home with us. I have my car. Please. Chloe hesitated. I saw it. So did her father. Grant stepped in. One night, Chloe, clear your head. She looked at me. This was the first real trap. If I asked her to stay, they would call me controlling. If I told her to go, she might hear surrender. So I gave her the only thing that respected her. Choose what lets you sleep tonight, I said, not what makes any of us win. Her face changed. She nodded once. I'll go with them tonight. I'll call you. Melissa looked relieved. Grant looked satisfied. I opened the door. Drive safe. Chloe paused on the porch. You're not upset. I'm not thrilled. There's a difference. I'll call. I know. She stepped closer, low enough that only I heard. Don't decide I'm too much trouble. I looked at her ring. I kept a piece of cheap metal for 15 years. I can handle a difficult weekend. She smiled, but it didn't reach all the way. Then she left. By Monday morning, the first ban arrived dressed as concern. Chloe called me from her car before work. Her voice was tight. My parents think we shouldn't see each other for 2 weeks. I was at my office early, standing by the window with a cup of coffee I hadn't tasted. What do you think? I think they're calling it space because punishment sounds less elegant. That's a strong sentence for 8 in the morning. I didn't sleep. Did you agree? No. But I said I'd limit the drama. What does that mean? It means I told them I wouldn't come to your house this week. I let that sit. She rushed on. I know how it sounds. I just needed the room to stop burning. Chloe, I'm not ending this. I didn't say you were. You're doing the calm voice. It's the voice I use when the bridge is still up but I can hear trucks coming. She sighed. Are you angry? Yes. At me, at the situation, at your parents. A little at you for negotiating my access like a parking permit. That's fair. I won't chase you through rules I didn't agree to. Silence. Then she said, what does that mean? It means I'm not coming to your apartment, I'm not sneaking around, I'm not sending romantic proof every hour like a man applying for renewal. You want to talk, call me. You want to see me, choose it openly. Her voice went quiet. That sounds like distance. It is distance with a door, not a wall. I'm scared you'll get tired. I'm scared you'll let guilt drive. Fear is not a plan, she breathed out. I hate when you make sense. I've been told it damages the mood. A small laugh escaped her. I'll call tonight. Good. And Chloe? Yeah, don't give them my silence and call it peace. She didn't answer right away. I heard that. That week was not romantic. It was practical, tense, and full of pauses. Chloe called every night, but the calls were shorter than they should have been. Her mother was always nearby. Her father always had something to say in the background. The first 2 conversations felt like we were speaking through airport security. On Wednesday, I did what I should have done earlier. I changed our Friday dinner reservation from a nice restaurant downtown to a small diner near Chloe's office, for lunch, in public, on her side of town. No secrecy, no late-night drama, no performance. When I texted her the time, she called within 2 minutes. You moved dinner? I moved the format. To lunch? Yes. At Rosa's? You like their soup. You hate soup. I tolerate soup in emergencies. Mark, my mother knows people near my office. Good. Then she'll hear we ate sandwiches, not staged a collapse of Western civilization. Chloe went quiet. You're making a point. I'm making a boundary visible. About what? I'm not your hidden mistake. Her voice softened. You're not. Then we won't behave like I am. Friday I arrived 10 minutes early. Rosa's was crowded with office workers, nurses from the clinic nearby, and one old man reading a newspaper like it owed him money. My friend Nate met me outside because he worked 2 blocks away and had appointed himself my emotional security guard. He looked through the window. You want me at another table? No. You sure? I can look casual. I have range. You look like a man who would whisper updates into his breadbasket. Accurate, but useful. I'm fine. Nate studied me. He was a construction project manager, loud when nothing mattered and precise when it did. You're doing the thing. What thing? Acting like if you stand still enough, nobody can hit you. I'm eating lunch. With the woman you've loved since dinosaurs, and her invisible parents sitting on your shoulders. Poetic. Unwanted. He clapped my shoulder. Just don't disappear inside your own manners. Chloe arrived at 12:15, wearing work clothes and a careful expression. She looked over her shoulder before crossing the street. I saw it. She saw me see it. Before she could apologize, I opened the diner door. Come on, I said. Soup awaits. Try to contain yourself. She smiled, grateful for the normal tone. Inside, the waitress Elena pointed us to a booth by the window. Elena had known me for years because my office ordered lunch from there every Thursday. Look at you, Elena said, handing Chloe a menu. You finally bring someone pretty and don't introduce me? Chloe raised an eyebrow. Finally, I sat down. Elena collects evidence. Elena leaned toward Chloe. He orders black coffee and turkey sandwiches and tips like his conscience is watching. Sounds like him, Chloe said. Elena noticed the ring on Chloe's hand, then mine. Her face lit up. Oh, I like this. Menus, Elena. No, let me enjoy a development. Chloe laughed for the first time in days. Then the bell over the door rang and Melissa Bennett walked in with a woman I recognized from party photos. Denise. The restaurant dropped 10 degrees without changing temperature. Chloe saw them and closed her menu. I didn't move. Melissa's smile appeared too quickly. Chloe, what a surprise. Chloe looked at me. I gave nothing away. Mom, she said. Denise. Denise looked at our rings with open curiosity. Well, this must be Mark. I stood. Nice to meet you. Melissa's eyes stayed on Chloe. I thought you had a team lunch. I do, Chloe said. Mark is my team today. Denise coughed into her hand. Elena, still beside the booth, looked like she was enjoying the best free show in town. Melissa's voice lowered. Can we speak outside? Chloe's face tightened. I put my menu down. No. Melissa looked at me. Excuse me? No, I repeated. She's on her lunch break. She can speak to you here for 1 minute, or she can eat with me. Outside conversations are where people get cornered. Chloe stared at the table, then lifted her head. He's right. Denise shifted. Melissa, maybe we should order. Melissa ignored her. Chloe, this is inappropriate. What is? Chloe asked. Lunch? Parading this around. I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. The rings are small. If this is a parade, the budget is terrible. Elena made a noise and covered it by stacking menus. Melissa's cheeks colored. You think this is amusing? I think calling lunch a parade is dramatic. Chloe reached across the table and took my hand, not under the table, not hidden, on top of it. I'm eating with my fiancé, she said. Her voice shook once, then steadied. You can join us politely for coffee another time, not today. Melissa stared at her. Denise touched Melissa's elbow. Let's go. For a moment I thought Melissa would press harder. Instead she stepped back, wounded and angry. Your father will hear about this. Chloe nodded, I assumed. They left. Elena looked at us. Soup? Chloe laughed, so suddenly she had to cover her mouth. I sat back down. Soup. After Elena walked away, Chloe looked at our joined hands. You didn't let me fold, she said. I didn't speak for you. No, you made the room safe enough for me to speak. I held her gaze. That matters? Yes, then remember it. She squeezed my hand. I will. For 1 hour we were almost normal. We talked about her interview schedule, my work, Nate's terrible advice, my mother's cookie diplomacy. Chloe tasted my soup and declared it not tragic. I said I planned to put that on the diner's brochure. When we walked outside, she stopped by my truck. I want to come over Sunday, she said. Choose it clean. I am. Not because you fought your mom and need comfort. No, because I miss you. I nodded. Then come Sunday. She looked at me for a long second. Can I kiss you in a parking lot like an adult scandal? That depends. Is there paperwork? Shut up, Mark. She kissed me. It was quick, warm, and controlled until it almost wasn't. When she stepped back, she looked annoyed with herself. What? I asked. I spent years acting like this would make things complicated. It did. I know. But I still want to do it again. Complications deserve consistency. She laughed and kissed me once more. That night, Chloe's father called me directly. I was in my garage fixing a loose shelf when my phone rang. I recognized the number because Grant had texted me once years earlier about helping move Chloe into an apartment. I answered. Grant. You embarrassed Melissa today. No, she embarrassed herself. I just didn't assist. That tone won't help you. I'm not auditioning. She is under enormous pressure. Chloe? My wife. I set the screwdriver down. Your wife walked into Chloe's lunch break to make a point in front of her friend. She was worried. Worry doesn't get a free pass to become control. You're very confident for a man who has not yet built a family. I almost laughed. Grant, I've built a business, a home, friendships that survived actual bad years, and enough patience not to answer that the way it deserves. You think patience makes you good for her? No. Respect does. My daughter is on track for a life bigger than this town. Good, you say that now. I say it because I mean it. If she gets Chicago, will you follow her? If that's what we decide. And your work? I can manage projects from other cities. And your house? It's wood and drywall, not a religion. He went quiet. I picked up the screwdriver again, but didn't use it. Grant said, Melissa thinks Chloe is confusing loyalty with love. That's possible. You admit that. I admit people can confuse things, including parents. You always have an answer. No, I have limits. Different skill. He made a tired sound. Don't make us the enemy. I'm not. But I won't let you make me the obstacle. I ended the call politely. Then I stood in the garage and looked at the shelf until the irritation passed enough to finish the job. I had learned a long time ago that anger feels productive while doing absolutely nothing useful. Sunday morning, Chloe came over with groceries and a cautious smile. I brought breakfast, she said. You don't cook breakfast. I can assemble it. That sounds safe for everyone. She set the bags on the counter. I'm sorry about my mother. Accepted. That fast, I'm not charging interest. She took out eggs, fruit, bread, and a small container of cinnamon rolls from a bakery near her apartment. I looked at the container. That's an apology with frosting. It's not just an apology. What else is it? She moved around my kitchen like she knew it because she did. A peace offering. A thank you. A small bribe for patience. I'm listening. And maybe I wanted to take care of you for once. That made me quieter than I expected, she noticed. Too much? No. You sure? I'm adjusting. She smiled. To breakfast? To being wanted without having to be useful first. Her expression changed. She put the bread down and came around the counter. I've always wanted you, she said. I was just very committed to being difficult. I had noticed. Do you want me to leave? No. Do you want me to stop talking? Tempting, but no. She leaned against the counter beside me. My dad called you. Yes, he told me. Version? That you were respectful but stubborn. Generous edit. He also said you sounded like a man who wouldn't be easy to push. Accurate. She looked at me with something close to relief. Good. That morning was the first soft turn. She made breakfast badly, burned one side of the toast, and blamed my toaster with the confidence of a trial lawyer. We ate at the kitchen table. Her foot touched mine once and stayed there. No big speeches, no promises beyond the ones already on our hands. After breakfast, she stood by the sink washing plates. I came up beside her. You don't have to do that. I know. Then why? Because your mother left cookies here like a protective spell. Your father probably checked the porch light twice. Nate keeps texting me warnings, disguised as jokes, and everyone is trying to keep you steady. I wanted to be one of them. I dried a plate. I'm steady. I know. But steady men get tired too. I didn't have a sarcastic answer ready. That annoyed me. So I kissed her temple instead. She turned off the water. That was new. Don't get used to my silence. It's seasonal. She smiled, but the sweetness didn't erase the problem. By the end of that day, her phone had buzzed 17 times. She ignored most of it. At 5, she finally answered her father in my living room. Yes, I'm still here, she said. I was at my desk across the room, sorting invoices, pretending not to listen. Grant's voice carried faintly. Come home. We need to talk. I'll come by tomorrow. Tonight. No, Chloe. I said tomorrow. I looked up. She looked at me, then away. I'm not asking permission to have a Sunday. After she hung up, she sat on the couch and pressed the phone into the cushion. That felt terrible, she said. First clean boundary usually does. How do you make it look easy? I don't. I just hate the alternative more. She leaned back. I don't want to lose them. You might lose the version of them that expects you to ask before breathing. That sounds harsh. It's still cheaper than losing yourself. She closed her eyes. You're very inconvenient to my denial. I've been working on that. The next week, Chloe got the Chicago interview. She called me from the sidewalk outside her office, breathless with excitement. They want me there Thursday. That's good. It's very good. You sound like you're trying not to jump. I am in heels. I have limits. Do you want me to help with travel? I booked the flight already. Good. My parents are thrilled. I bet. They want to come over tonight and help me prep. That sounds normal. And they suggested I leave my ring at home for the interview. There it was. I leaned back in my chair. What did you say? I said no. I waited. She added, then my mother said people will make assumptions. People always make assumptions. It gives them something to do between emails. Mark, what did you say after that? I told her my ring is not a resume error. I smiled. Strong, she cried. Also predictable. I felt awful, I know. Then I almost took it off. I stopped smiling. But I didn't, she said quickly. I put it on a chain because I was scared I'd lose it while traveling, not because I was hiding it. That's your choice. It feels like you're disappointed. I'm paying attention. That's worse. No. Worse would be pretending I don't care and storing it for later. She was quiet. I softened my voice. Chloe, you can wear it, chain it, lock it in a drawer, whatever. But don't let them teach you to treat us like a liability. They won't. Good. Thursday, while she was in Chicago, I had dinner with my parents. My mother asked too many careful questions. My father asked one. Does she stand when it costs her? He said, bed. I cut into my steak. My kid. She's learning. That wasn't my question. No, not always. He nodded. Then don't carry her choice for her. My mother shot him a look. Frank. He shrugged. What? Better he hears it at this table than after he sells his house and wonders why he's alone in a city with bad weather. Chicago doesn't own bad weather, I said. You understand my point. I did. I hated it, but I did. Chloe returned Friday evening with good news and a tired face. The interview had gone well. Very well. They told her she was a serious candidate. We met at my house because she said she wanted quiet. The second soft turn came that night, bigger and more dangerous. She walked in with takeout, a folded paper, and a look that made me suspicious. What did you do? I asked. Why do you assume I did something? Because you're smiling like a person holding a plan. She handed me the paper. It was a printed calendar for the next 3 months, interview follow-ups, work deadlines, family dinner, weekends marked with small notes. One weekend circled. Open it, she said. It is open. Read the circled one. I did. Apartment hunting weekend. Chicago if offer comes. Mark included. I looked up. Chloe, I'm not saying you have to move. I know. I'm saying if I go, we plan together. Not you chasing. Not me apologizing. Together. That hit harder than breakfast. She stepped closer. I also told my parents they're hosting dinner next Saturday. With whom? Your parents. You. Me. I folded the calendar. That sounds like a battlefield with napkins. It probably will be. Why now? 'Cause I'm done having separate conversations where everyone edits the truth. And your parents agreed. My mother said it was premature. My father said it was unnecessary. I said it was happening. I leaned against the table. That's not a small move. I know. What changed? She touched the chain at her neck where the ring rested under her blouse. In Chicago, the interviewer asked if I had family support. I started giving the polished answer. Then I heard myself. I said yes, but I'm also building my own. I didn't speak. She continued, I thought it would feel like betrayal. It didn't. It felt honest. I took her hand. Come here. She came close. This time I kissed her like I had been holding back for 15 years and had finally found one safe inch of ground. She responded, then pressed her hand against my chest and broke it before it went too far. Still sensible follow-up, she asked, with effort. Good. Don't look pleased. I'm suffering nobly. You poor stable man. We ate takeout on the couch. She leaned against me. For the first time, she didn't check her phone when it buzzed. The week before the dinner was quiet in the way train tracks are quiet before something heavy arrives. Nate came by my office Friday afternoon and dropped a folder on my desk. What's this? I asked. A list of short-term rentals in Chicago. I opened it. Why? Because your brain likes options, and because watching you pretend you haven't researched this already is hurting our friendship. I researched neighborhoods. Of course you did. You're romantic like a city planner. I flipped through the pages. This is useful. I know. I'm deeply useful under the personality defects. Thank you. He sat across from me. You ready for dinner with the Bennetts? No. Good. Honest answer. I'm ready to be clear. That's your version of ready, probably. He looked at the ring on my finger. You ever think maybe the old promise is too much pressure? Yes. And pressure doesn't make something false. It just shows where it's weak. He nodded. That's almost inspirational. Don't say it at dinner. Her dad will throw bread. Saturday evening, Chloe and I arrived at her parents' house together. That was my condition. We did not arrive separately and pretend this was neutral. Her parents lived in a tidy neighborhood outside Columbus, in a house where every plant looked supervised. My parents met us at the curb. My mother hugged Chloe immediately. My father shook her hand like she was a contractor he trusted. You doing all right? He asked her. I'm nervous. Good, he said. Means you understand the job. Chloe blinked. That's oddly comforting. He does that, I said. Inside, Melissa had set the table like a magazine shoot. Grant poured water with the solemnity of a man preparing testimony. Denise was not there, thankfully. Chloe's younger cousin, Amanda, was apparently invited as neutral energy. Amanda was 28, direct, and had no interest in pretending the room was normal. She hugged Chloe, then looked at me. So you're the ring guy. I have other qualities. We'll see. I respect the screening process. At dinner, conversation stayed safe for 11 minutes. Weather, work, Chloe's interview. My mother complimented the salad. My father asked Grant about the backyard fence. Amanda watched everyone like she had paid for front row seats. Then Melissa put down her fork. Chloe, your father and I have discussed something. Chloe sat still. Okay. We want to support your Chicago opportunity. That's good. And we think the healthiest thing would be for you to go alone for the first year. No engagement pressure, no wedding talk, no Mark relocating. If the relationship is strong, it can wait. My mother's fork stopped halfway to her plate. Grant added, We're not saying end it, we're saying prove it. I wiped my mouth with my napkin and set it down. Chloe looked at me. I looked back. This was hers first. She turned to her parents. You invited his family to hear that? Melissa's expression stayed smooth. We wanted everyone to understand. My father leaned back. That was considerate. Saves time. Grant looked at him. Frank, we're trying to protect her. Frank nodded. From a man sitting at your table eating salad? From rushing into a commitment. I spoke then. Let's be accurate. You're asking her to accept the career you approve of and pause the relationship you don't. Melissa turned toward me. I'm asking my daughter not to reduce her life to a childhood fantasy. Chloe's voice sharpened. Stop calling it that. It began that way, and it grew up because we did. Grant said grown adults don't make marriage decisions based on old jewelry. No, Chloe replied. They make them based on trust, history, choice, and whether the person beside them makes them smaller or stronger. Melissa's eyes filled, but her voice stayed firm. And does he? Or does he make you feel safe enough to settle? That one landed on Chloe. I saw the doubt flash across her face. Not about love, about herself. Her mother knew exactly where to press. Grant leaned in. Sweetheart, you have always been loyal. Sometimes too loyal. Mark is familiar. Familiar can feel like destiny when you're afraid of change. I could have argued. I wanted to. Instead, I looked at Chloe and waited. She didn't speak. The table went painfully quiet. Amanda finally said, "Wow, so neutral energy is not working." Nobody laughed. Chloe stood abruptly. I need a minute. She left the dining room and went toward the back porch. Melissa started to rise. I stood first. No. Her eyes flashed. Do not tell me no in my house. Then don't follow her when she needs space from your voice. Grant pushed his chair back. Careful. I am being careful. That's why I'm still polite. My mother said softly. Mark, I looked at Grant and Melissa. You both want proof she can choose without pressure. Then stop applying pressure for 5 minutes. I walked out to the porch. Chloe stood near the railing, arms folded, staring at the yard. I closed the door behind me. Do you want me out here? Yes. I stopped a few feet away. Talk. She laughed once without humor. That your supportive fiancé speech? You don't need a speech. You need a clean question. What question? Do you want me because you're scared or because you know me? She turned. Don't do that. I'm not doing anything. You're giving them room. I'm giving you room. That feels terrible. Truth often has bad manners. She rubbed her forehead. I hate that she knows where to hit. So hit back with facts. What if she's right? Then we deal with that. Her eyes filled. How can you say that? Because I don't want a woman who chooses me because she can't stand disappointing me. I'm not. Good. Then say what you are doing. She looked toward the house. I'm choosing you. Why? Because you're steady. Not enough. Because you know me. Still not enough. Because when everyone else talks about my future like it's a glass case, you ask where I want the door. I stayed quiet. She stepped closer. Because I love you. Not the promise. Not the story. You. The man who tells me no when I'm hiding. The man who would move if we decided that, and stay if we decided that, and not make either one a test of devotion. That's better. You are impossible, occasionally helpful. She wiped under one eye with the heel of her hand, annoyed at the tear more than anything. I'm going back in. With me? Yes. Then make it final. Not cruel. Final, she nodded. Okay. When we returned to the dining room, everyone looked up. Chloe didn't sit. She reached to her neck, unclasped the chain, and pulled the ring free. Melissa's face changed, thinking for one awful second that she had won. Then Chloe slid the ring back onto her finger. I wore it on the chain in Chicago because I was afraid, she said. Not of Mark. Of all this. Of being judged before I even got to speak. Her father said, Chloe, no, I'm speaking now. He closed his mouth. I want the Chicago opportunity. I want my career. I want my own name on my own work. I also want Mark. Those things are not enemies unless you make them enemies. Melissa's voice trembled. We never wanted to hurt you. I believe you. But you are hurting me when you treat my love like a symptom. Grant looked down at the table. Chloe continued. We are not setting a wedding date tonight. We are not moving in next week. We are not performing maturity to calm everybody down. We are going to date as an engaged couple and make real plans. Together. I stood beside her, silent. She took my hand. And nobody gets to ask me to prove my independence by pushing away the person who has respected it the most. My father nodded once, small and satisfied. Melissa cried quietly. Grant stared at his plate. Amanda whispered, Okay, that was good. And my mother gave her a look that said not now while clearly agreeing. Grant finally looked at me. And you? I met his eyes. I will not ask her to shrink her life for me. I will not disappear every time you worry. I'll support her career, and I'll protect our relationship from being managed by committee. That's my position. Sounds like a contract, Grant said. No, contracts have escape clauses. I'm just telling you how I live. Melissa wiped her cheek. What if she goes to Chicago and changes? I answered. Then I'll get to know who she becomes. Chloe's hand tightened around mine. Melissa looked at her daughter, and if he changes? Chloe glanced at me. Then I'll tell him. He hates vague feedback. I do, I said. Deeply inefficient. Amanda laughed. This time, everyone let it happen. Dinner did not become warm all at once. That would be too easy and not believable. Grant stayed guarded. Melissa kept looking at Chloe's ring, then at my face, as if trying to decide whether she had lost something or simply stopped holding it too tightly. My parents did not gloat, which I appreciated and found mildly shocking. Near the end of the night, Grant asked me to step into the garage. Chloe looked at me. I'm fine, I told her. Grant led me past shelves of paint cans and tools organized better than most offices. He closed the door. For a moment he said nothing. Then, I don't dislike you. Good to know. You've hidden it with commitment. He almost smiled. Almost. I'm afraid for her, he said. I know. She pushes herself until she breaks, then smiles so nobody sees it. I know that too. And you think you can be the one she leans on? No, he frowned. I think I can be one of the people she doesn't have to perform for, I said. Leaning is her choice. Grant looked away. You talk like you've already been married 20 years. I listen like a man who waited 15. That waiting doesn't entitle you to her. No. It prepared me to value her. He studied me. If she gets Chicago, don't make her feel guilty. I won't. If you follow, don't make her carry that. I won't. If you stay, don't punish her for going. I won't. He nodded slowly. I'm going to need time. You can have time. You can't have control. His eyes returned to mine. You understand how irritating you are? I've received notes. This time he did smile, tired and unwilling. When we went back inside, Chloe searched my face. I gave her a small nod. On the drive home, she sat quiet beside me. The highway was mostly empty. The ring on her finger caught dashboard light when she adjusted the heater. You okay? I asked. I think so. That's not an answer. It's the most honest one I have. Acceptable. She looked over. Thank you for not saving me in there. I wanted to, I know. I had 3 speeches ready. One was excellent, I'm sure. Had structure, moral clarity, a tasteful insult. She laughed softly. A tasteful insult? I'm a professional. She reached across the console and took my hand. You let me stand. You stood. I almost didn't, but you did. She looked out the window. I felt like I was leaving one version of my life. Were you? Yes. Good version? Comfortable, small, approved, and now? Unclear. Bigger. That's usually the trade. She rubbed her thumb over my knuckles. Are you scared? Yes. Of what? That I'll become one more thing you feel responsible for. You won't. You can't promise that. No. But I can promise to tell you when I feel it. That I'll accept. She turned toward me. Are we really going to wait on the wedding? Yes. Even after all this, especially after all this. Why? Because I don't want a wedding used as proof. Not to your parents, not to mine, not to us. When we do it, it'll be because our life is ready for it, not because we need a scoreboard. She watched me for a while. What? I asked. You make patience sound attractive. Don't spread that around. It'll damage my reputation. She smiled and leaned back. 2 weeks later, Chloe got the offer from Chicago. She called me first. I was in my driveway unloading lumber from my truck when her name lit up my phone. Tell me, I said. I got it. I put the board down. Of course you did. You didn't even ask if I was serious. I heard your breathing. Mark, I'm proud of you. She went quiet. I waited. Then she said, I want to take it. Then take it. I want you part of the plan. Then I'm part of the plan. I don't know exactly how. We don't need exactly today. I looked at apartments. So did Nate. What? Long story. He's invasive but efficient. She laughed through what sounded like tears. My parents are trying. Good. My mom said congratulations before she said anything else. That is progress. My dad asked if you knew. What did you say? I said you were the first person I called. I picked up the lumber again, then set it down because I wasn't actually doing anything useful with it. Come over tonight, I said. I was hoping you'd say that. Bring the offer letter. Why? Because we're going to celebrate your life getting bigger. And us? That too. That night, Chloe arrived with the offer letter, a bottle of sparkling Kaiserman because she had an early meeting and the old ring bright on her hand. We sat at my kitchen table with my laptop open and made a plan that looked nothing like fantasy. She would move to Chicago in late summer. I would stay for 3 months to finish 2 major projects and rent out my house instead of selling it in a panic. We would visit every other weekend. I would begin shifting my client work. We would not set a wedding date until we had lived through 1 full season of distance without turning into strangers or martyrs. Chloe tapped the calendar. This is less dramatic than people expect. Healthy choices often disappoint the audience. Good thing we're not dating the audience. Exactly. She looked at the page, then at me. What about your house? I like my house. I know. I also like you. Strong ranking? I'm still evaluating. She kicked my foot under the table. Idiot. I caught her foot lightly between mine. We'll keep the house for now. Rent it if it makes sense. Return if we want. Sell if we decide. No sacrifices disguised as romance. She nodded. No guilt disguised as ambition. Good. No silent resentment disguised as being supportive. Excellent. No pretending we're fine when we're not. That one may require practice. I know. She leaned back. So we're really doing this? Yes, not because of a promise. No, because of a choice. I touched the ring on my finger. The promise got us to the door. We walked through as adults. She smiled. That was almost poetic. I apologize. Don't. I liked it. Dangerous precedent. A month later our families met again, this time at my parents' backyard where the whole mess had started. There were fewer people, fewer opinions, and better boundaries. Melitza brought a salad and apologized to my mother for being intense, which was the diplomatic version of several things. Grant helped my father with the grill and asked me about remote project management without making it sound like an interrogation. Chloe stood beside me near the porch steps, watching them. My dad is trying to bond with yours through propane, she said. American diplomacy. My mom asked if she could help me pack. That sounds good. She also asked if you'd be staying in a hotel when you visit Chicago. I looked at her. What did you say? That we'll decide our arrangements, and she can decide whether to hear details. Clean boundary. I learned from an irritating man. He sounds handsome, stable, mildly smug, handsome enough. She laughed and slipped her hand into mine. My mother noticed from across the yard and started smiling. I pointed at her with my paper plate. No crying. She called back. I'm not crying. You're pre-crying. I am allowed. Chloe leaned into my shoulder. Your family is loud. Yes, I like it. They like you. I know. That scares me too. Why? Because it feels like something I could lose. I turned toward her. You can lose anything. That's not a reason to hold it at arm's length. No, it's a reason to hold it honestly. She looked at me. You've changed. Have I? Yes. You used to act like wanting something too much made you dangerous. I thought about that. She was right. My fear had always dressed itself as restraint. I thought I was protecting her from pressure, but sometimes I was protecting myself from rejection. Waiting had felt noble because it required nothing from her. Choosing required both of us to risk disappointment in daylight. I didn't want to be a burden, I said. You're not. I know that now. Good. What am I? She pretended to consider. A stubborn, over-prepared man with a decent truck and a suspicious relationship with soup. Romantic. And the person I trust most. That one stayed with me. By the time Chloe moved to Chicago, we had packed her apartment, argued about which chair was worth transporting, made peace with the fact that neither of us knew how to label boxes properly, and survived 3 separate goodbye dinners. Her parents helped. Mine helped. Nate showed up with tape, snacks, and unwanted commentary. At her empty apartment, he lifted a box and read the label. Kitchen/maybe bathroom. That's concerning. Chloe pointed at him. Do not judge my sim. This is a confession. I took the box from him, put it in the truck. Nate looked at Chloe. You sure about marrying him eventually? She has time to reconsider, I said. Chloe smiled. I've had 15 years. Nate nodded. Fair. Terrifying, but fair. When the truck was loaded, Chloe stood in the doorway of the empty apartment and looked around. You okay? I asked. I lived here 3 years. You did. I became a lot of myself here. You're taking that with you. She nodded, then looked at me. Say something sarcastic before I get dramatic. Your closet alone suggests we should have started packing in February. Thank you. Anytime. She laughed, wiped one tear, and locked the door. The first months of distance were not easy. Anyone who says distance proves love has probably never dealt with delayed flights, bad cell service, and 2 exhausted adults trying not to turn every missed call into evidence. We had rules, not romantic rules, useful ones. No serious arguments by text, no pretending fine meant fine, no surprise tests. Visits were planned, money was discussed, work stress was named before it became attitude. One Thursday night, she called me at 11 her time. I'm failing at balance, she said. I closed my laptop. Define failing. I ate dinner standing up, forgot to call my mother, snapped at you in a text, and cried because my laundry card didn't work. Laundry cards are known enemies of civilization. Mark, I'm here. I miss you. I miss you too. I don't want you to move here because I'm lonely. I'm not. But you are moving. In 2 months, if the current plan still makes sense. What if it doesn't? Then we adjust. You make it sound simple. It's not simple. It's clear. She was quiet for a moment. I love you. I love you too. Even when I'm a mess, especially when you stop pretending you're not. She laughed softly. That was almost sweet. I'm tired. My defenses are weak. When I finally moved to Chicago for a 6-month trial, I did not arrive like a hero. I arrived with 2 suitcases, a work laptop, and a realistic lease on a small place 15 minutes from Chloe's apartment. Separate addresses. Shared intention. That was our compromise, and it worked because nobody got to call it impulsive, including us. Grant helped carry 1 suitcase up the stairs. He and Melissa had driven in with Chloe after a visit home. At the apartment door, he looked around. Small, temporary, I said. Good neighborhood, good coffee 2 blocks over. He nodded. You'll be all right. That almost sounded like approval. Don't get greedy. I smiled. Wouldn't dream of it. Melissa hugged me before they left. It surprised both of us. Take care of each other, she said. We will, and don't let her skip meals. Chloe groaned. Mom, I said, I'll encourage meals. I'm not becoming food police. Melissa sighed. Fine, encourage firmly. After they left, Chloe stood in my almost empty living room and looked at me. You're here. For 6 months. Very romantic. Very responsible. She walked toward me. I love responsible. That's convenient. She kissed me slowly, then rested her forehead against mine. We kept it, she whispered. The promise? No. The respect. That was the real story. Not the rings, not the birthday, not the dramatic family dinner or the old joke that stopped being a joke. We kept respect when pressure made it tempting to trade it for comfort. We kept honesty when silence would have been easier. We kept choosing each other without turning love into a cage. We still didn't rush the wedding. That bothered some people. It confused others. I didn't care. Chloe and I spent that year learning the daily shape of us. She worked hard and came home tired but proud. I built my client base in a new city and learned which streets to avoid at rush hour. We cooked badly at her apartment, watched old movies at mine, and argued once for 40 minutes about whether a bookshelf could be assembled without reading instructions. It could not. I admitted this eventually. Under protest. A year after my 25th birthday, we visited my old house for a weekend. The tenants had taken good care of it. The porch still looked the same. The backyard was empty, no guests, no string lights, no one waiting for us to prove anything. Chloe stood on the step where I had opened my ring box. Do you ever think about how strange this is? She asked. Frequently. We could have missed it. Yes, we almost did. Also yes, she turned to me. Would you have waited longer? I thought about lying, but we had worked too hard for the truth. No, I said. Her eyes searched mine. I would have loved you longer, I continued, but I wouldn't have stayed stuck forever. At some point, I would have had to build a life that didn't depend on a promise you might not choose. She nodded slowly. That's healthy. It was theoretical. Let's not overpraise me. No, I'm glad. She touched my hand. I don't want to be your reward for suffering. You're not. What am I? My partner. She smiled. That sounds better. It is better. She looked out at the yard. We should set a date. I glanced at her. For what? Don't be annoying. I need clarity. Could be a dentist. Mark. I smiled. Say it. For the wedding. I took her hand and looked at the cheap old ring still on her finger after all the pressure, travel, arguments, plans, and ordinary days that had tested it better than any ceremony could. Are we ready? I asked. Yes, she said. No hesitation. Not because we promised. Because we practiced. That was the line I needed. We got married the following spring in a small ceremony with family, friends, and strict instructions that nobody was allowed to make speeches longer than 3 minutes. Nate exceeded his limit and was booed respectfully. My mother cried openly. Frank pretended not to. Melissa fixed Chloe's veil with shaking hands and whispered something that made Chloe hug her hard. Grant shook my hand before walking her down the aisle. Take care of my daughter, he said. I looked at Chloe, then back at him. I'll stand with your daughter. She takes care of herself. Grant held my gaze, then nodded. Good answer. Chloe heard it and smiled. At the reception, she pulled me aside near the edge of the dance floor. You know, she said, that old ring cost $3. 4. Inflation was already a concern. You remember? I remember everything that matters. She touched the new wedding band on my hand. Do you miss the old one? No. No? The old one was a promise. This one is proof we knew what we were promising. She looked at me for a long moment. That was definitely poetic. I've grown. Unfortunately, I like it. Then my plan is working. She laughed, and I kissed her there, in front of everyone, without hiding, without proving, without asking permission from the room. Years later, people still ask whether we really kept those rings all that time. Chloe usually tells them yes and leaves it there. I tell them the better answer. Keeping the rings was easy. They sat in boxes and asked nothing from us. Keeping the promise took work. It took uncomfortable conversations, parents who had to learn the difference between love and control, friends who told the truth, distance, patience, and two people willing to stop hiding behind timing. I used to think loyalty meant waiting quietly until life handed you the right moment. I was wrong. Loyalty is what you do when the moment arrives messy, loud, inconvenient, and full of people telling you to choose the safer lie. Chloe chose me in front of her family. I chose her without asking her to become smaller, and together, we chose a life big enough for both of us. Would you have kept a promise like that for 15 years? Do you think love should wait for family approval, or should adults choose for themselves?